Hello and welcome back to the Weplay Invitational round of 16 matchup between H2k Gaming and Faculty. This is going to be game number 2 out of a potential 3 in this first round game. Game number 1, if you have just joined us, went to the hands of H2k Gaming very comfortably in the end. However, I am Edis and I'm joined once again by Spud. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty well for me right now, and Faculty certainly do have some serious work to do to come back from that previous defeat. And it looks like they're starting out by banning all the champions that made life difficult for them before. Kaylin and Olaf were the first to go. Oh, and disclaimer, me and Metas are a little bit behind because we are spectating in the stream, so we don't know what the next ban is. Wouldn't be surprised to see if it was Jax, though.
Definitely not, and we even said this at the end of the last game, that are they going to go for these bans? Are they going to be taking out Caitlyn and Olaf? And of course they will be, because they were game changers. They were absolutely detrimental to their composition there. And actually the last ban's going to be Zed for Faculty, so they're not quite fearing the Jax just yet. Maybe you're going to be picking it out, or perhaps it's just a case of thinking, well, if they do take the Jax, we've got a counter.
Maybe, but the last time they picked up a Jax counter, the problem for them was just that they ended up getting that swapped up on them. So you ended up with Jax in a 2v1 lane, was able to get enough experience and farm to become relevant and defeat Kha'Zix one-on-one anyway, because nobody really outscales Jax. It's just how it is. I would say, though, this game, Renekton is open, and he would be an extremely safe and valuable first pick, but it actually looks like they went for Sona instead.
Yeah, I am actually quite a bit behind you, so I'm going to try refreshing the stream here, Spud. So, by all means, take the reins here while I restart, because I'm literally 15 seconds behind you.
If you're 15 seconds behind me, you're probably another 10, 15 seconds behind the viewers, so quite significant delay going on there. But we have got the extra lock-ins coming in, Lee Sin and Lucian from H2k. Not too surprised to see both of those. Obviously, Lee Sin, highly mobile, highly dangerous assassin that transitions into being a bruiser as the game goes on. Quite heavy on the utility, not so much on the damage later on. And Lucian, who is becoming very quickly one of the most feared and sought after AD carries in the business, has got that ability to pretty much outtrade any other AD carries or even support in just a straight up exchange of auto attacks and abilities. If he, the only slight issue is the ultimate, but people are finding more and more uses for that as time goes by. It's just not the murder machine people originally thought it was. Faculty, however, have chosen for their next two picks, Renekton and Kassadin.
Yes, and as you said, Renekton, a very safe pick. So if the Jax comes about, Renekton's going to be, it should be alright, dependent on how Federico plays that at top. But as he's saying, Lucian, and also Thresh is still available and very much probably going to be taken, I would imagine, with Lucian. I mean, Lucian does well with CC support, so the likes of Zyra, the likes of Thresh, and we've been seeing a lot in the EOS Challenger series as well, which we also cast the Thresh and Lucian at bot lane. So against Sona, if a death sentence lands, Lucian can go in and just absolutely explode the Sona. It's going to be so scary to play against from Ryman Simon. Well, they're looking at potential Fiddlesticks lock-in.
Yeah, and that would work in a very similar way to Thresh. Death Sentence or is it called Dread? Fear. Regardless, the Q from Fiddlesticks, which is a 3-second fear at max rank, would definitely set up that burst combo you mentioned. Only issue on that one is that it has slightly less, well, okay, quite a lot less range than Death Sentence, and can be potentially punished, but the mere fact that Fiddlesticks is there means that it makes it much harder for Sona to go in and use the Q power chord harass that she tends to want to do in lane. Does look like Faculty are thinking about their own AD carry as an answer to Lucian, and it's another recent pickup, or at least hasn't been locked in, but at least it hasn't been locked in on my screen. It might be on yours, future viewer. Jinx is the current hover over champion of choice.
Yes, indeed, and we saw Candy Panda using Jinx previously in the US Challenger series to devastating effect, absolutely decimated the bot lane. So in the right hands, both these AD carries are insanely strong. There's a lot of big picks here, I've got to say, from Faculty. I mean, Kassadin slipping through is going to be so good in the mid lane for No Way For You, and then you've got the Sona as well for Ryman Simon, who's very comfortable on that champion. Didn't necessarily have the greatest of game number ones, but I don't think that was necessarily down to his poor play. It's just the situation his team found themselves in. So I'm already liking Faculty's chances a hell of a lot more than game number one.
Indeed. I actually saw Candy Panda running Jinx earlier today as well. We did have SK on earlier on in the first best of 3, and they ran a ridiculous siege composition that just destroyed their opponents with Jinx. Notable, I think, thing about Jinx is really that she is probably the best tower destroying champion in the game, because she can either go close up and just destroy it very, very quickly with the Gatling gun, or she can poke it down with the extremely long range on the rockets. She also works very well at sieging, just because she can catch people out, punish people that get, well, stunned or silenced or hooked, anything like that. Regardless, though, we do have the full lineups actually in, and H2k have gone with an unusual choice, but one that makes an awful lot of sense given what he's matched up against here, Talon.
Yeah, Talon does very well against melee champions in mid, and specifically is pretty damn good against Kassadin, because he's going to be able to jump on top of Kassadin, harass Kassadin down. My only worry, though, from Overpow is if he doesn't take a teleport. Now, obviously, he's going for more of a kill-centric mid lane here, but if he doesn't take a teleport, that's going to allow No Way For You, with the teleport and also with the massive maneuverability that Riftwalk gives, to roam a lot more than Talon would. So that's what could be quite scary. That being said, though, Spud, if Talon gets ahead with, let's say for example, the First Blood, he's going to snowball so ridiculously hard in mid. It's very difficult to catch up a snowballing Talon.
Yeah, especially as Kassadin, because Kassadin's normal answer to a difficult lane is to walk up to them, silence them, and then try and get some CS. Difficulty with Talon, his silence is he outranges Kassadin's silence, and it's an instant cast spell. So just like that, you're silenced, and then the full burst combo can come down from Talon, which is usually enough to 100-0 you. So really scary stuff if you're in the situation of Kassadin, especially if you fall behind early. Regardless, though, guys, we will be going into a quick delay timer, and as a result, we will be going into a quick commercial break. So we will see you after this.
Machine. Man and machine. When I think of the future, I think of the man and machine. And friends and ideas and philosophy and spirit. Man and machine. And machine.
Back, ladies and gentlemen, we are now underway with the second game of this best of 3 between N Faculty and H2k. I am Spoddington, joined by Metas. How's it going?
It's going great, dude. Looking forward to this game. I'm hoping that In Faculty can certainly get that synergy down into this one. H2k actually coming into the jungle of In Faculty, and in game number 1, both teams went for the jungle invade. So it looks like it's going to be a similar occurrence. Blood Dragon's trying his best to keep them at bay, but in the meantime, Ryman Simon's going to be planting down some wards. So lots of pings. I'm not too sure if anything's going to kick off, though.
It's always a little bit difficult to know. There's not a lot of lockdown potential on H2k, really, especially considering that Fiddlesticks has committed himself into that dark wind at that stage. In fact, that's genuinely quite a problem on H2k in general that I had not noticed. They really, really don't have a lot of hard CC.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So that could definitely determine some of the factors as to whether we do get that first couple of bloods going down in the next few moments. But honestly, I think it's just a case here of blue side of N Faculty realizing that they don't have a great deal of chance going up against, especially Fiddlesticks. I mean, level 1, if he takes the Terrify, he's actually gone for Dark Wind, pretty interestingly enough. But if he'd have taken the Terrify earlier on, and they kind of engage and go ahead and face check, it's suddenly going to be a very bad day for you, and H2k are going to get snowballing. And specifically the fact that they lost game number 1 in Faculty, they're probably going to be a tiny bit more tense. They don't want to give a free game.
Yes, indeed, and it does seem like H2k's attempt on this red buff was spotted out there by the ward over the wall, which was then promptly destroyed. Jankos walking out, Nocturne taking away his own opponent's red. Lucian and Vander walking into lane, but I don't believe Jankos is going to go for any level 2 shenanigans. Overpower continuing to do a little bit of damage, and it's just a fairly equitable exchange because both teams knew what the other was about. It does seem like either side is actually getting an awful lot done right now. The question now for me, though, is Jankos going to go straight from his blue buff to mid lane? Because Talon is playing this quite defensively and is actually, if anything, being pushed back in terms of creeps at the moment.
Yeah, he's actually slightly behind Kassadin in terms of experience, so he's may start to feel the pinch a tiny bit more as this lane progresses on. I will say though, and we mentioned this previously, that Talon does do very well against Kassadin typically, so getting towards level 6, I think that's definitely going to turn back around.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of factors that determine why Talon is so good against Kassadin. Mentioned that his silence outranges Kassadin, and he has a greater... sorry, I was thinking about Lee Sin there for a second. Outrages Kassadin, and it's obviously instant cast as well. He also does physical damage, so Kassadin's magic damage reduction passive doesn't matter. We may be about to find out about that. Jankos coming in. He's also a physical damage dealer, you know.
He is. So there's a lot of AD actually on the cards here for H2k, but I guess they do have Vladimir at top, which is nice. As Zaz is going to be putting down the Hemo Plague, doing a lot, and also Fiddlesticks does a fair chunk of damage on top of that. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how the team compositions and the team item build starts to come about, as Overpower will be jumping on No Way For You, does quite a bit of damage and takes a bit in return.
He does have to be a little bit careful, however, because in this early stage of the game, although he does actually have Ignite over No Way For You, which could be a major factor and could explode at any second, they do have to be a little bit careful because early on it's easy to get tempted into trading with the W from Kassadin, the Netherblade, which does a lot of damage in sustained fights. And early on, Talon's Burst, and the same for Kassadin, will not be enough to take him out instantly. So a little bit of a factor for the super early game, but at the moment Overpower is just playing it very, very defensively.
He is maybe fairly caught in two minds about where Blood Dragon is. Doesn't want to get caught out from the unspeakable horror and get himself feed off, and then Kassadin comes in to clean up. So it could very well be a case of just playing better safe than sorry and realizing that going into the next few levels will start to go ahead of Kassadin. Now you can see that No Way For You is playing a bit more passive, so it's a case that both these mid lanes I think are respecting each other a great deal. Bot lane flashing from Vander with the Terrify as well. The Flame Chompers come down. That's going to stop Jankos from carrying on this onslaught for now. Ignite as well. First blood for Lucian. So Celiva, starting right from where he left off from game number 1, is taking quite a bit of damage though from those creeps and Ryman Simon, and now here comes Blood Dragon. But they're not going to be able to turn this one back around.
No, but Celiva does actually have to be a little bit careful. Ignite and Flash are up on Ryman Simon, which means if you get caught by that, especially with a Q and a power chord as well, you will die on that amount of health from Celiva. But seems like he's going to stay in and rely on his team to just make sure they get that lane pushed out into the tower to deny as much farm as possible before they bother to recall.
Yep, but Janko's just pushing a tiny bit more. They're going to be backing away. They may try a Dragon, although they're pretty low, so I doubt that's going to happen. Yeah, they're just going to go back. And Overpower's actually doing quite a bit to No Way For You in mid, so we are seeing how this lane was trending in Kassadin's favour for levels 1 and 2, but now Overpower's starting to build some momentum.
Yeah, getting that 10 CS advantage already is very, very alarming, but Zaxxas in top, he's a lot more alarmed.
Flashing and Ruthless Predator as well. Xaxis is very close to death, but he will manage to survive by the skin of his teeth. Teleport in from No Way For You to the mid, so he's not going to miss too much of this CS. But yeah, lots of summoners being burnt globally across the board.
Yeah, Kassadin, very much a signal of intent there. Using his teleport now, although he's hit level 6, is basically him saying, I don't think I'm really going to be making that many teleport plays right now. Both these lanes a little bit too difficult to gank for me, so just going to use that for sustain, make sure I don't fall behind Talon too much, because the further you fall behind early on, the worse it gets later. So, No Way For You. Well, he now has to be careful because the full combo is available from Overpower, but I'm not actually sure if he could be 100-0.
It's going to be a close one, and maybe Overpower's not too sure as well, so it's a case of if you fully commit yourself and Nocturne is there as well, it can really backfire. It does chunk him down to about 50% hit points, but Overpower's taking a lot. Here's the ultimate, so it has been baited for now, but did Blood Dragon just show himself prematurely out the bush there? I thought I caught a glimpse of him.
Yeah, I believe he did. And the other interesting thing there, though, is that No Way For You was actually trading pretty okay with Overpower. Simply by using his Riftwalk aggressively, and now Overpower is kind of caught in a situation where he knows he can't get too aggressive. He doesn't have enough vision around himself, but at the same time he doesn't want to let No Way For You get his health back. It's going to happen, but he's just going to have to wait for now. And although Talon's ult is a very short cooldown, so he can just play it fairly safe for now and look to get aggressive once he's got that back up.
Yeah, but there are a couple of good bits of information for Overpower. One, he knows that No Way For You's used his teleport in mid, so that's not going to be possible. He's going to suddenly appear at bot lane and say hello and just suddenly crush down Lucian or potentially Fiddlestick. So that means that if No Way For You goes missing for a few moments, Overpower can either go roaming himself or he can just try and push down this mid lane. Plus the fact that he is ahead on CS by nearly 20 now, that is going to keep Kassadin in mid. He wants to get this farm. If he goes to roam and gets no kill, no assist from it, he's falling further and further behind. So I think Overpower is still in a very strong position in mid lane.
Yeah, indeed. I will actually mention as well, a lane we haven't been giving much focus to is this top lane right now. Vlad versus Renekton. Vlad, not a character we see too much these days. Clearly has been picked out to give an extra source of magic damage in this situation. Actually, Sim is hanging around the bot and Talon hanging around the Wraith camp. They are going to go for it.
Yeah, Crowstorm comes in, Naraka's been crushed down, and Celiva picks up his second kill. Thus far in this best of 3, I believe that he is 9-0 overall for games 1 and 2, so he's had a blistering set of games so far, and now they're going to be turning their attention onto the Dragon, and really there isn't a great deal that N-Faculty can do about this.
Yeah, they're starting to take quite a few advantages, and last game there was no single specific thing that H2k did better. They just did generally better on the whole kind of course. So H2k getting a slight advantage. These kinds of things snowball quite quickly, and Vander gonna be, I think, maybe might retreat out of there. Not too keen on that amount of health.
Yeah, the Super Mega Death Rocket not quite living up to its name, but still punctured down some of that hit points. Blood Dragon's going to be going on Celiva, popping the ultimate, chasing after with the red buff. Is a Terrify going to be enough here with the barrier as well? They could actually turn this one back around. Crescendo comes in, but they're going to take down the kill. So both supports lock it down. Fiddlesticks kills Nocturne, and Sona will be taking out Celiva's Lucian.
Well, I guess this way Fiddlesticks does get red buff, so that's kind of better for H2k, maybe? It's a little bit difficult to say, but I guess Celiva won't be farming, so that's bad from H2k's perspective. Xaxxas now in this top lane actually is in quite a bit of trouble being pushed back by Renekton, and this is kind of how I would have expected this lane to go, but Vlad thus far is doing a pretty good job of keeping himself in this. That is actually a little bit worrying for an N faculty, just purely on the grounds that Vlad is a very strong late game champion. He will scale up hard, and if he's able to rush his Zonyas...
I think he may have cut off at the end there.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Okay, apparently Vince can't hear me, that being Metas, by the way. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Spuddington Show. No, okay, so... Metas appears to have timed out, so for a brief time you shall be treated to the lovely myself, where I talk awkwardly about things I don't know anything about. I mean, I'm a brilliant analyst of this game. Blood Dragon hanging around in this top lane, though. He's going to get the Fear Tether on. Actually did not. Xaxus pulled it very early. Flashes out. Playing a very defensive game, and indeed Lee Sin now looking for that bottom, but actually no way for you is the first man in there. Fear goes down. A lot of damage from Celeber, but he's not dropping quite quickly enough. He gets the insect maneuver down, and Neurok Smurf going down very low as well. They're looking for that damage. It does look like Jankos will be able to pick that one up, but now he is low. Vander is going to pick up Sona, but will the tower take Jankos? No, he will not. Vlad in the top lane in a lot of trouble as well. Xaxus, he's still alive. He used his own health on the... Oh, he used his own health on the Tides of Blood and ended up dead. Renekton dies to the tower, and Blood Dragon is now taking the tower. Talon looking for the cleanup. Metas, are you back yet? He's not.
I've just reconnected. I have no idea what happened. My internet just went.
Video games, or TeamSpeak, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, we've got an ace.
Ah, nice. That's always a good thing. Who to, though? That's the question.
H2k, take the ace.
Rightio. I'm reconnecting right now. I have no idea what happened. My internet just decided to jump off the edge of a bridge. So I'm still reconnecting, Pulse. Spud. Sorry. GG.
It's not like I want you to remember my name or anything. No, okay. Myself and Steve from accounting are going to be continuing to cast this game. H2k rapidly snowballing ahead, though. We've got 2 kills on Lee Sin. Vlad up there, although he did kill himself, did manage to get a kill on Renekton in return, so that's not too bad. And Overpower has been cleaning up across the map, as well as Celeber.
Right, I'm finally back in. So what started the ace? Was it just a case of somebody being caught out of position, or...?
It was no single fight. There were just a bunch of different fights going on at the same time. A little bit of a mess, essentially. In the top lane, it was a 2-man dive on Vlad, and in the bot lane, we had just a general maul of everyone except Talon, who rushed up top to finish off the fight. It was a dive on Xaxus, who is actually now really starting to chunk Renekton hard.
Yeah, so when I actually disconnected, it looked as though Xaxus was in a really precarious position because he just used his Sanguine Pool and was being pushed down very aggressively, but somewhat of a turnaround. As you say, he's now looking to be quite strong and forcing Frederico back to his tower.
Yeah, that is kind of what happens when Vlad starts to get ahead in a lane. It starts to get really punishing for melee bruises. Oh, wow! In the mid lane, Overpower.
Yeah, no way for you is going low with the Ignite and the Bleed as well from Talon, but he's going to be okay. He's going to survive on his tower, and he's going to be recalling back to spawn.
I might be wrong, but I feel like Overpower actually missed his rake there due to the positioning he came out with his Cutthroat. Not sure, but Nocturne's in top.
Yeah, Nocturne going for this kill into Xaxus. They've realized he is becoming pretty big, and they want to shut this down. They want to get rid of this momentum. Both ultimates being popped from both Frederico and Blood Dragon. Can they catch up with Xaxus? He's very quick. Used his Ghost here. Doesn't have his flash off cooldown. He should be falling behind the tower, but that was a lot more work than I think that and faculty were kind of banking on.
Yeah, if Xaxus had been a tiny bit quicker on his Ghost, used it before he pooled, Nocturne would never have been able to get the Fear Tether on him, and he might have been able to get himself out as a result. Regardless, though, I don't think it matters. He's still going to be capable of dealing with Renekton when he gets back in the lane. Celeber very aggressive in the mid lane.
Oh, crescendo use. Barriers instantly popped from Celeber, who's very low, but that's going to be the ultimate from Jinx coming in to pick up the pieces. Now a 3 versus 1 on Jankos. Vander's from the side. Is he going to be jumping through with a Terrify? Not needed, actually, just there for the safeguard. So coming to the aid of his jungler, but Celeber playing super aggressive and getting caught there for his struggles. Oh, the Crow Storm comes in though from Vander, so they're going to turn this one back around. They get the first kill on Jinx with Ryman Simon very low, plus no way for you, but it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade although slightly delayed there from H2k bringing it back.
Yeah, nice little surprise party there, but it does seem to me like H2k ahead a little bit, but in faculty, well, they still have a lot of tools in this game. They are not out. 5,000 gold is significant, and No Way For You needs to be very careful about where he jumps with that Rift Warp, because Overpower might be able to take him down even without his ultimate on that level of health. What I would say, though, is that in faculty need to start taking advantage of how quick they are at roaming and how much they can pick people off. Overpower is so scary.
He is right now, and they're picking up the dragon as well, so H2k have this three-pronged attack. They're going for dragon, mid, and top, all at the same time. And with both the bottom towers down, that's going to be Narek trying his best to push away Overpower, but Overpower's done enough to get the players away from the tower, and they pick up their third consecutive tower on the board for H2k. So it was looking pretty close at the start, but suddenly H2k again have just shifted through gears, and they're cruising forward in this best of three.
And I think that's the mark of a really, really good team. Renekton in top lane is going to die. I think that's the mark of a really good team. The ability to play so dynamically with you don't feel the need from H2k for them to like group up. They aren't playing a game where they're like, yes, we will put 5 men mid, and then we will push, and then we will definitely have one person bot split pushing, and that is our formation, we will stick to it. They're playing a very fluid style, and you can actually see now 2 members preparing on one side, another man in the upper for that gank on the mid lane, which it looks like they are now closing on.
Yes, they are. Overpower coming around from the side. This is going to be a flash from Roman Simon through to the Wraith Tower. That's going to leave the AD carry in a horrific position. Narek will be falling, and the tyranny of Overpower continues as he's actually got 2 brutalizers. Because why not?
They don't stack. All he's getting from that second brutalizer is 25 attack damage. That's less efficient than buying 3 longswords. I assume he'll build it into something at some point, but yeah, that's a little bit questionable. Blood Dragon, though, he's playing with fire, and I don't think he knows it.
Yeah, and he may very well get burnt, but he is going to go back to spawn. That's going to leave Federico by his lonesome. Here comes Jankos from the side with Zazas. Sanguine Pool used again. Jankos now going to be tanking that tower, which doesn't have a great deal of health left. Look at the burst damage, though, on Renekton, who's a very tanky champion. They make him look like he's paper. And now in mid lane, Overpower's going to be picking up that kill, narrowly escaping from both the Zap and the ultimate from Jinx. Really just taunting that one out. Here comes the ulti, though, from Nocturne. Will be shutting down Talon. I just thought maybe it's the case that he's going to go for the Ghost Blade and also a Black Cleaver, because Brutalizer builds into both, unless I'm mistaken.
Yes, it would make a lot of sense to do that. The problem is his build path doesn't make a lick of sense, because literally he would have been better off buying like almost any part, like almost better off buying a longsword and leaving it as such. Actually, Selva in trouble.
Yep, Selva has been caught again. Here comes the Crowstorm, though, flashing away out of the unspeakable horror. Still going to be landing, however, and he will be falling down, not able to use that E to get back to safety. Vandenoob is now being chased from 4 players, and as Fiddlesticks, I do not fancy his chances. He's going to be going down right now. The question is who's going to pick up the kill, and it's going to be Nocturne.
However, objectives being taken by H2k significantly greater in importance than those couple of kills that cost a lot for In Faculty to get. They lost 1 tower, and it looks like they may lose Renekton as well as the second tower.
Yes, they will be. Here he comes. We do have a lot of burst damage from Kassadin now. Hemoplague was used from Zazas. Does he have the damage? No, he doesn't. How much will Hemoplague do? Really not a great deal. It will be amplifying damage, but if you don't put any down afterwards, not really too much to be coming out. The Jankos has been caught from No Way For You. It's going to be safeguarding back onto his ward, forcing the flash out. Sovereignly, someone is being used in the process. Jankos is still being chased down. Do they finally have enough damage to signify the end of Jankos' life? It looks likely. He's going to actually go through again with the safeguard, delaying the inevitable, and he finally does go down to the hands of Kassadin.
It was a really nice little duke at the end. Overpower, however, has been caught as well.
Wow, all the catches today. And Overpower is going to be able to get away, however, with the ultimate. Culling used as well, just to force back the invaders.
And I want to just clarify a little point about the double brutalizer and why I said it doesn't make a lick of sense before. Because brutalizer has a unique passive for both the armor pen and for the cooldown reduction on it. That that unique passive is separate from the unique passive on Black Cleaver and the unique passive from Youmuu's. It's just that if you build 2 brutalizers, they're sharing the unique passive, so they aren't getting you're only getting 1 instance of those 2 stats. It would make perfect sense to build a Youmuu's and then build another brutalizer, or it would make perfect sense to build a Black Cleaver and then a brutalizer, but it doesn't really make much sense to build 2 brutalizers at once because they just don't get very much.
Well, with all that being said though, Xaxis is going to be caught in the mid using the Sanguine Pool while being feared off. Jankos and Vanda are around from the side, so they're going to be okay. But again, H2k have accumulated a significant gold lead, 27.7 to 35.5, 5-to-1 towers plus dragons. On top of that, Vanda has been caught. The ultimate comes in from Jinx. Terrify is going to back away on Frederico, but there's the burst damage and the crescendo as well. So actually, and Faculty could turn this one back around nicely because that's going to be coming back up onto the Flame Chompers, stuck in position. He does a lot of burst damage onto Naruk there, but does finally go down. So a 3-for-0 trade, and maybe that's a little bit of glimpse here into what could start to happen. If and Faculty can get this snowball rolling down the hill, they can pull it back. They're good enough individually. They're still a long way behind though.
Yeah, I almost start to wonder whether this H2k becoming overconfident. They don't seem to be doing exactly what you would expect from it. They are playing suddenly very, very loose. They've got individual characters running around in the enemy jungle without warding or cover or knowledge of where the enemies are. Stuff like Fiddlesticks getting caught, that's not what we would have seen from them in the early game. Felt like they were playing much, much tighter then, and maybe that could be their undoing. Slip-ups like that can cost you games. You can throw them really nastily, and it only takes a small tipping of the scales to suddenly change the way the whole balance of the game is working. And if you're not expecting that to happen, you can continue to play as if you were still miles and miles ahead when in fact you're only a little bit ahead. That in turn can then result in further losses, putting you back on equal footing, etc, etc. You can see how that can work against you. However, I think H2k are likely to start playing a little more safely again.
Yeah, we've been casting these guys for a very long time. They're experienced, they're veterans of the League of Legends scene, and I think, if anything, that would have probably just put them in their place. They go, okay guys, we're ahead, but let's not get cocky here, let's not get arrogant, because we've seen time and time again, Spud, that hubris has been players and teams' downfall. It happens all the time in the EOS Challenger Series, so H2k do not want to be a statistic here. They want to push forward and win this 2-0. If they play safe, if they play solid, and they approach these team fights as they did in the first 5-10 minutes, I see no reason why they won't actually take home the victory.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they are still very significantly ahead. 7,000 gold is absolutely nothing to laugh at. And they've also got a very, very strong team fight here. Their individual characters might not scale quite as hard as in Faculty, but the way they will fit together in a team fight and like work and function, the way their mechanics fit together will be really, really good. They have a lot of AoE damage, and they have a lot of surprisingly much ability to keep Lucian safe and alternate threats to force them not to focus him. So a lot of stuff to be concerned about for Faculty, but Faculty will scale quite hard if they are allowed the chance to breathe here, and they also have better picking potential. So assuming H2k don't abuse how strong Talon is right now for that picking potential, it could start to flow against them.
Oh, it's definitely a case. I mean, League of Legends, as we said, is very much momentum based. It's like a domino effect. If you start to lose a couple team fights, suddenly you find yourselves back against the wall. And it's a case right now of how are H2k going to finish off this game. Some teams do suffer with this. When they get close to the finishing line, they're not sure how to pass it. Whereas in Faculty, they are a resilient bunch of players. They have been in this position time and time again, and more often than not, they do fight their way back into the matchup. So you can't count them out just yet. I would say though, based off the amount of difference in gold and items, it's looking fairly one-sided in H2k's favour. Question is though, can Faculty group together and start to pull down some seriously awesome team fights? That's the question in my mind.
Well, at the moment they managed to get a lot of poke on Vanda, and now they can potentially look to push through this mid lane, but it actually looks like what they're going to do is opt for the split push. The only thing that has to be you have to be alert for if you are in Faculty in this situation is that if this fight kicks off, it's going to be very, very bursty.
Oh my goodness, and as if they heard you, that's just instantly Sona getting wrecked. Teleport comes in from Kassadin. That was a timing engage, noticing that No Way For You was bot, so that teleport's going to take a few seconds to come in. Suddenly it's a 2-for-1 trade, with Blood Dragon taking all the damage, absorbing it up for his AP carry in the form of No Way For You, who's now going to be slowing them down. Janko's jumping across, and it will end this team fight. A 2-for-1 trade, and sorry, a 2-for-2 trade, as a second kill just goes down there. So pretty much even, but Blood Dragon has to go back, and it looks like they are going to get an objective off the back of that fight.
Yeah, H2k coming out a little bit ahead there, and just as I was saying, the danger if you're trying to do teleport split pushing against a team like H2k with a very fed Talon, with a fairly fed Lee Sin, with Lucian, with so much burst damage that comes out in a big AoE, by the time the 4-second teleport induction time is over, you might all be dead.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of No Way For You, he's forced to flash away through the wall there. He was very worried for his safety. Rift walking back in, Zazis has used the Sanguine Pool, and here comes the damage. Flame Chompers placed down as the Zoni's Hourglass has been utilised as well. Kassadin picks up his 4th kill, now chasing after Janko's hungry for that 5th. Need to be careful because Overpower and Vander are coming around from the side. Vander has Boots of Mobility, so he's going to be looking to Terrify onto one of the opposition and potentially start a fight off, but didn't manage to get in close enough. With Zazis dead for 25 seconds, some of that pressure is going to be alleviated here, Spud, but even though they're picking up kills, they're not converting it into any objectives afterwards.
And that is always the sign of a team that is going to fall gradually behind. If you aren't able to give as good as you're getting in terms of objective takes, you will slowly fall behind, and then you will have to start, then you will have no choice but to start not giving as much as you're getting. So it looks at the moment like Ryman Simon is pretty determined to get control over this Baron Pit area. He has used just about all of his wards on that, and that is a very wise decision because H2k, they've got a pretty quick Baron clear, not super quick. It's not like they've got Karthus or Cassiopeia on the team, but Vlad has respectable speed, Talon has respectable speed, Lucian obviously will contribute a fair bit as well. So we'll see if they choose to go for that, but right now they definitely want to get it cleared out before they do any kind of actual starting of the Baron.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the ward coverage from N-Faculty, and it's really bare bones. They don't have any vision at all over Baron apart from this one ward, which if Vander just walks up towards, he's going to see and clear out. So there you go, they've got no vision anymore. And they're in a really precarious position where, in their mind, they could be thinking, okay, H2k are on Baron right now. We have to go and do something. But it seems like they realize that they're kind of weaker and they don't want to make any big plays. They're going to go in and try and poke and get some information that way. But in doing so, Blood Dragon has been caught out of position. That all comes off the back of just that ward vision control. Vandernoop will be popping off his ultimate. Culling comes through, doing a lot of damage alongside Overpower, gets his double kill and forcing away the remaining 3 players. Rift walking from No Way For You. The only good news, the silver lining for N-Faculty, is they have both their carries still alive, and they're both fairly high on hit points. But is that going to make any difference? Terrify comes in, and the ult as well from Jinx. 1-for-1 trade in this small skirmish, but still that Baron is getting smashed down.
It's going to fall very quickly, and Jinx cannot afford to get too close. There's too much CC. Talon would burst her too hard, and yes, they are going to back away, let the Baron go, and now we're back to 10,000 gold difference between the two teams. Overpower is running for it. He popped Yomu's. Can he catch up to Nurok Smurf? I don't think so.
He's quick, but not quite that quick, especially as he hasn't upgraded his boots. He's only got boots of speed, so after the Ghost Blade ran out, he was still very much short. It's going to be a Dragon as well, so a lot of gold in the back pocket now of H2k. And we were talking a few moments ago about can N-Faculty bring this one back after going a pretty nice team fight. Well, it looks like H2k have steadied the ship. They've let that alarm bell kind of dwindle down, and now they're resuming control.
Yes, you could tell they were starting to get loose because they were starting to think, oh, we've got this. That's always a dangerous thought to have in League because it can turn on a dime, and it can certainly turn off a few easy picks, and that is kind of how it's something you'll see if you've ever played solo queue at all. Arrogance, hubris comes before a fall, essentially, and that is a very universal truth. I think that we will agree there, Metas. At the moment, though, it looks like H2k actually could potentially get caught out here, but go for Blood Dragon.
Now they're turning it right back around. Talon is doing so much damage. A Nocturne, even though he's building full tanks, will not be able to stand toe-to-toe with that raw output. Now Frederico is taking the front lines. Crescendo comes through, lands onto both Zelliver and Jankos. The culling comes through, and the double kill as well from Overpower. Now Zazas is taking point. Look at the Hemo Plague damage. He's going to pick up a double kill. So, two of a kinds all over the shop, and now it's just no way for you alive. He's not going to be able to stop this onslaught. And actually, H2k could finish the game right here.
The shove and the push and the tower taking is now in progress. Demolition in progress, in fact, but I am a little curious as to whether they want to tank the towers, because yes, Gasoline is still there, but if he face tanks it, he's going to go down. Jankos wants it.
He does, but there you go. I was about to say, does Gasoline have a chance? Nope. Both Nexus towers falling and just spawning in time are in faculty to see their Nexus get destroyed. That's going to be the 2-0 victory to H2k. Much deserved as well, Spud. The better team won today.
Yeah, honestly, H2k are a really, really good team. They are potentially, I don't want to jinx them, but they are potentially a contender for the LCS spots that are coming up. I have absolutely no idea when the tournament is because I'm a complete moron. But whenever that tournament is, I'm sure H2k are a serious contender because, as we mentioned in the past, they are one of the two teams that only ever managed to take a game off the old lineup of Copenhagen Wolves, who were completely and utterly dominant for months at a time. That does mean, of course, that H2k will be moving on to the round of 8, which won't be happening for a couple of days at the very least. We still have several more round of 16 games to go through. We will have content for you tomorrow, but I believe for today, that is all we have time for.